Hey guys, how is everybody doing? I just reviewed The Hunger Games, and so continuing forward, here are my thoughts on The Hunger Games, The Catching Fire. Or is it just Catching Fire? With my positives on Catchy Fires, I do like how this movie is more personal with the characters to where you get to see their lives before they go back to the Hunger Games and how they meet and before all these people that they meet and like how like the Hunger Games changed them and like how they're holding up afterwards and like how they have to give speeches and like kind of talk about what their experience was like and how they would rather have died instead of lose each other and all that, and how they're so popular and how they want to donate their money that they earn to other families that lost somebody in Hunger Games and all that, and like how there's pretty emotional stuff here and there with the characters to where they have to watch just somebody be beaten to death or just die, which is really sad, but yeah, I do like the personal things with them to where I start to like these characters more, where I'm more invested with them. And it was one of my issues in the first Hunger Games to where we barely even got to know the characters. It was like, oh, here you go. Here's a character that we're gonna put in a pit for an hour, and you're not gonna know anything about him. And I like how in this movie they even kind of do that with Katniss in this movie to where uh, Peeta and Katniss are on a train. They're just kind of bonding a little bit and all that to where they're kind of just talking about random things like, friends really talk about their feelings and how they feel and like what their favorite things are. And like she's like they start talking about their favorite colors and all that, which I thought was pretty cool character development. I had a huge issue with it in the first film and they really paid it off in the second film. My next positive is Philip Seymour Hoffman. Rest in peace. Philip Seymour Hoffman is great in this movie. I am a huge fan of Philip Seymour Hoffman, especially after watching Mission Impossible 3 this year, which will contend that is the best villain of the franchise because that guy's terrifying. And when I found out that he was in these films, I was really excited and I was like, "Oh, he's going to be great in these movies." And unsurprisingly, he was fantastic in this movie to where they kind of play him off as like a villain in like the movie to where you kind of think that he's a villain and wants these people to die and all that, where and that in the end it's revealed that he was more testing Katniss and seeing if she was the Mockingjay and if she's going to be like the final contender or something, to where it leads up to the next two films to where the movie kind of tricks your mind to where it's like, oh, this guy's a villain and you don't want to like him, but at the end it's just like, oh, this guy's actually a good guy, that he is not a villain. So root for him. But I'm gonna root for him because he's Philip Seymour Hoffman. I'm not gonna go against him. Like hell, Mission Impossible 3, I was kind of rooting for the guy because he's Philip Seymour Hoffman and he's cool. But I really did like him in this movie. His performance is unsurprisingly good. His character to where it's so despicable in areas, but you can't help but love him in a way. Philip Seymour Hoffman is great in this movie, and I was so heartbroken when I found out that he died after watching Mission Impossible 3. After I found out about that, I found out that he died. I was heartbroken. He seemed like a really kind man. He seemed like a teddy bear in a way, because a lot of interviews he was so nice to. He always seemed so nice to where a lot of people would hang out with him, and I actually seen some people give him hugs and everything to where he just seemed like a great guy. Rest in peace to man. My favorite thing in this entire film, and I really like that what they did here, instead of just having like random people in the same district just join together to go against like just other random people in like this arena, they take two winners out of other games of the Hunger Games and they put them all into one arena to where they become alliances to where these like to where this district has to verse all these other ones to where I really like that to where you get the returning characters from the first film, and then you see all these other winners that won the Hunger Games, and then they're all put into this arena, and they all have to fight for each other. But also, they also let you choose alliances before you even go into the Hunger Games, which I actually really liked, and it was a smart move there. I honestly really liked that. That was a pretty clever choice. Instead, is like, oh, we're gonna bring in more random people to where Katniss is just like, oh, I survived. But no, it's like other people from other arenas and other winners of the Hunger Games to where it's kind of like a bigger challenge to where Katniss like my if they did something stupid and put her in an arena with like 10 other people or 23 other people, and to where she just won. That would have been stupid, but it makes it more of a challenge to where she's put into this arena with other winners to where it's more of a challenge, and that was a great move by the writers. Of alliances, what I liked in this movie to where in the first movie you got to see alliances of the villains to where they hunt down other people and they kill other people to where you root against those ones and you're hoping that the main characters that we've been watching will win. But instead, we get to see the opposite side and see our heroes join alliances and go against other people.
Good thing we're allies, right?
That I really like to where it just like pulls a rug out of under you and does something the opposite to where you don't really expect that to where it's to where you got to see the villainous side of alliances in the first film, but in this film you get to see the good side of the alliances, which I thought was a great move there. One of my issues that I had with the other film is that it made me feel no emotions and it didn't have character development. But in this film, they completely do that. They make it to where there's more character development and to where it's more emotional. Hell, there's one scene in this movie to where Katniss is giving a speech about the little girl that sadly died in the other film, where she's giving a speech. She's like, "Oh, I didn't want that to die," and then they do the little thing in the Hunger Games, and the guy starts, and this one old guy in the public area or something like this big group, he starts to whistle the little song that the birds would sing when they were together when they were planning stuff. But what really punched me in the gut how sad it was is that the Hunger Games like military people, they come up, grab him, and just shoot him to where everybody watches and is forced to see that. That was gut-wrenching and just hard to watch. Yeah, it's that sad. Where, oh my god, to where I didn't start crying though, to where I just felt so bad, to where I was like, Jesus, man, why did you do that? That's just mean. And there's another scene to where you get like this new character, and I believe the wife or something, the old lady, Max, I believe her name was. She sacrifices herself to like the big poisonous fog to where the others will live, and it's a pretty emotional scene to where the one guy is screaming at her not to do it. That was a pretty emotional scene because we got to know her, and especially the one scene to where Katniss and her are like showing like how Katniss was trying to train her how to fight, and she showed her how to make like little fishnet things to where that was great character development. And then when she died, I actually felt something to where I was upset, to where I was mad and sad that that person died. That just shows that they learned their mistake from the other film. I like how in this movie they had like different technology and different traps in a way to where there's like this part to where there's crows flying around and all that, but the characters think it's like one of their alliances and one of their friends is crying out for help because they're getting killed or being hunted down or something. But no, it's a crow mimicking them, which I thought was a great scene to where Katniss shoots the crow with an arrow and to where it dies, and then a bunch of crows to start surrounding her, to where there's a bigger force field around them this time, and to where poisonous fog starts to come in, and all that, and then like this giant like tornado thing with the water to where it starts pulling people away. I really like seeing that to where they had to fight for their lives, actually had to figure out scenes of like how they could run away to where it was more of a bigger challenge. Now in the first film, I didn't think there was a huge challenge there. Yeah, sure, it's a bunch of people killing each other and they all had to run away and escape. Yeah, sure, that's a big challenge, but when you're just putting people in an arena just to shoot people and kill people and all that, when nothing else, it's not that scary, and it's also just kind of an easier way to win. Now, I'm not saying I would win the Hunger Games. I'd probably be one of the first people to die. And especially that one scene in the first Hunger Games where they all just waste to each other. Yeah, sure, that's probably difficult to survive. But what I love that they do in this film is that they add different traps for them to where they actually have to fight for their lives instead to easily just hide in a tree and just wait out. Like even in this movie, they even say that one group of people that won one of the other Hunger Games just hit and let the other people kill themselves. And so they add something new to where there's traps there to get them moving to where they don't just stay in one area and just hide until everyone dies. No, they actually add things into the arena and into the Hunger Games to where they actually have to start moving around. And that's what I love about this film. On to my mixed aspects, and that's the CGI. Now, I'm going to keep comparing it to the first film because I feel like it. In the first film, it was very noticeable. It was one of my biggest issues with that film. But in this film, it's still really noticeable. Don't get me wrong, it's still noticeable, and I can be like, oh, why is there a weird outline there? Oh, I can definitely tell there's CGI and green screen there. But surprisingly, for a film that came out 1 year later after the first film, it's barely noticeable that. It's barely noticeable in this film. It's still noticeable, but barely my negatives, and I only have one issue with this film, and that's the Katniss and Peeta relationship. Now, I'm not against it. It's a pretty interesting subplot going on in the movie. But what bothers me is that Jennifer Lawrence and the person that plays Peeta, I forget his name, but he was in the FNAF movie. I feel there's no chemistry there to where I don't feel anything to where they kiss, they express their love. I don't feel anything.
I need you.
And I honestly feel that they don't care for each other or they don't love each other. Again, chemistry matters. If you're going to do a movie to where two people are in love with each other in your film, get two great actors that have great chemistry, but they don't do it here. Jennifer Lawrence is a great actress. I love the guy that plays Peeta in this movie. I come around to love his actor. But to me, their chemistry is just not there. I didn't feel anything there. There's just nothing to where I didn't feel their love to where when you're putting two characters in a relationship, you're supposed to sit there like, oh yeah, I root for their relationship, but I felt nothing. Well, guys, I really liked the Hunger Games: The Catching Fire. I definitely prefer this over the first Hunger Games. It basically takes everything that was wrong with the Hunger Games and fixes it with still a few issues. It's not a perfect film by any means, but if you really did enjoy the first Hunger Games, or if you loved the first Hunger Games, you are definitely going to love this movie. It takes everything that was wrong with the first Hunger Games and makes it even better. So this is definitely a film to where I recommend that you go out and buy it. What do you guys think about the Hunger Games Catching Fire? Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Do you prefer the Hunger Games over this, or do you prefer this over the Hunger Games? Let me know in the comments below, and we will talk about it. If you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified for my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, see you all next time.